And Luke Hartog, after an epic qualifying session, who has put his Black Falcon Porsche 911 on pole position for this race 3 of a 16 race season. We are at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. Hello everybody, welcome along. This is going to be exciting because not only is Luke Hartog on pole position, but Maurice Schering, the youngest driver in the field, is directly behind him, P3 on the grid. That man there, Dylan Pereira, we could call him one of the old guard really, lining up alongside Hartog on the front row of the grid. Dylan Pereira returning to Porsche Carrera Cup Germany for 2022, and there is that third place. Maurice Schering, who actually flew home on a private jet, was chartered by his father to take an exam yesterday and then flew back again. He's living the high life, isn't he, David Addison?
I can't get my daughter to do her spellings on the computer in a bedroom, never mind fly her back and forth for her studies. But hopefully all will come good, whether it's academically or a podium result for Maurice Schering this weekend. Top 8 in the championship, top 8 on the grid, but in a very jumbled order as you look at there. The championship leader, the double winner, Heinrich, who will start 4th.
Heinrich has won both races this season from pole position. At Spa, he also led every single session. Well, that's over as far as a record goes because Hartog has relieved him of pole position, but Heinrich is looking to make it 3 out of 3. Even from 4th on the grid, that is going to be quite a challenge. But that man there, Larry Tenforder, he has been making the headlines for what feels like a very long time, looking for his 3rd consecutive Porsche Carrera Cup Germany title. Of course, very experienced driver in Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup, as indeed is that man, Michael Muller, who returns after a couple of years in the GT Masters. He went and won it while he was at it. Back on the grid in the SSR Huber Racing Motorsport Porsche. Up-and-coming chargers, well, while we're on the subject, Bastian Boos in the number 99 Allied Racing car. He lines up 7th on the grid. He is an absolute charger, and he is one to watch, as indeed is the man who will be starting alongside him, Rudy Van Buren, who will most likely appear on our shots any second. There he is, Rudy Van Buren, the fastest gamer in the world. That's what he calls himself. He came through the world of gaming and is now a very competitive driver in Porsche Carrera Cup Germany.
Yeah, some of those that come out of esports show great talent. Some go from real world racing into esports in order to earn a living. So there's a massive crossover these days. But yeah, Rudy Van Buren doing a very good job in the 2 races at Ottersleben, comes here 7th in the championship as you look next at Jesse van Kijk, number 26, another of the Team GP Elite cars. Teammate, of course, one of the teammates to Larry Tenforder, another Dutchman.
We're less than 2 weeks from the opening round of the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany, so quick succession here. We started at Spa-Francorchamps less than 2 weeks ago. It was pure entertainment. It looked like Heinrich was going to have this championship sewn up by the middle of the summer, the way things are moving, but the young Chargers have got something to say about that. It is the 33rd season of Porsche Carrera Cup Germany, can you believe? We have 16 races in 5 countries, featuring 32 identical Porsche cars. There's Max van Splunteren, one of those drivers that has qualified towards the front half of the grid. The man just behind him, Lorcan Hannafin, the British driver in the number 9 car for FAC Autotech. He got a 21st and a 13th place at Spa-Francorchamps last time out. He was pretty disappointed with that. He's a driver who has an awful lot of experience in Porsche.
Indeed, last 2 seasons in Carrera Cup GB. Very unlucky not to win the British Championship last year. Lost out to Dan Camish in the last races at Brands Hatch. Lorcan Hannafin, another member of the British Racing Drivers Club's Rising Stars programme, one of whom, Ben Green, was a GT winner not half an hour or so ago. Full grid, as ever, stretching on this 1-by-1 staggered formation. Pole position on the outside, the racing line, stretching all the way back down the pit straight. And the grid being cleared. The last engineers will be off the grid at the 1-minute board. They're starting now to make their way with the engines ready to be fired up towards the pit lane, and then we will go racing for what is a 30-minute race.
I can't wait. We were just saying before we went on air, there is nothing quite like Porsche Carrera Cup Germany when 32 of these cars burst into life at the same time. The noise is deafening. They look phenomenal here at the Red Bull Ring. We are in Spielberg, a little village in the Styrian Mountains. And it's a circuit that we are visiting that has been here for many, many years. In its current format, it was 2011 when Dietrich Mateschitz bought it and turned it into the Red Bull Ring. It is now 4.318 kilometers around with 10 turns, 7 to the right and 3 to the left. The preparations are underway, complete pretty well for the start of this race. The weather conditions are good. It has been scorching hot in the lead up to this weekend. And then overnight last night, we had thunderstorms. The track was washed nice and clean. All that lovely rubber was washed away. We had a qualifying session this morning, which was a drying track. And by the end of the qualifying session, the track was probably completely dry. Temperature is 22.8 degrees centigrade. So conditions are perfect as long as the rain holds off. You can see, well, you saw in the earlier shot that the clouds are gathering up above, but we're not expecting any rain as we look ahead from Bastian Buus, one of the drivers who has really impressed in Porsche Carrera Cup Germany over the last couple of years. Of course, he's also running in Porsche Carrera Cup France just to keep his hand in.
Yeah, the more time you spend in these cars, the better. It's an art making a Porsche go well, and of course these cars in this championship in their second season, so those that raced them last year do have an advantage. Many of them also do Super Cup, so you're in the same car week after week after week. Green lights on, so the green flag lap is underway. Last chance to get some warmth into the Michelin rubber on which they run, and it is Luke Hartog then from pole position who leads them uphill to turn 1.
So the roar of the car is deafening, even from where we're standing. It really is a spectacular sight. We're going to take a look at the starting grid for this race 3 of the season. Luke Hartog on pole position with Dylan Pereira alongside Black Falcon, alongside Iron Force Racing by Phoenix. Maurice Scheuring and Lauren Heinrich make it an all SSR Huber Racing second row. Then Larry Tenforder and Mikael Muller also for SSR Huber Racing. Bastian Buus and Rudy Van Buren line up on row 4. And then on row 5, Jesse van Kuijk and Huub van Eindhoven, one of the talent pool drivers. Max van Splunteren and Lorcan Hannafin line up on row 6 of the grid. And then Lucas Grunewald and Dan van Kuijk on row 7. GP Elite, both those cars. Alexander Fack and Jukka Honkavori are on row 8. And on row 9, Richard Wagner and Lucas Ertl. Row 10 of the grid, Harold Prochik, good to have him here, and Alexander Tauscher for Allied Racing. And row 11, Sebastian Framer and Ariel Levy for Huber Racing. Carlos Rivas and Jan Seifert on the row 12. Row 13, Soren Spreng, Jan-Erik Sluten, Georgi Donchev, Jonas Greif on row 14. Row 15, Ahmad Al-Shihab and Philip Sager, who's in for Matthias Jeserik. And then Christoph Langer, bring up the rear of the grid, Kai Pfister, who's in for Holger Harmsen, who had that accident at Spa-Francorchamps last time out. We say get well soon, Holger Harmsen. We hope to see you back on the grid soon. Formation lap is underway. The heat is being generated, and very soon the cars will return to the grid. It is a standing start for Porsche Carrera Cup, so the first challenge of the race will be getting them all around turn 1, and then the second challenge will be getting them all around turn 3. Those two are the best overtaking opportunities on the circuit. You have the slipstream along the pit straight, and then the slipstream along turns 2 up towards turn 3, heavy braking and the right-hand turn. And those are the opportunities for overtaking, but also the opportunities to end up pointing in the wrong direction. The cars now forming up on the grid. The heat has been generated, and the final few cars now coming into position. This is Luke Hartog's first ever pole position. He wants to make the most of it. He has been dialed in from the moment he got here. Track limits will be an issue. Keep an eye on those. Keep an eye on the lights, because very shortly they're going to go red. Just as soon as the cars at the back, so many cars, it's a maximum grid of 32 cars. It's taken a while to get them all into position. And meanwhile, the tyres of the front row started to cool down. But now, finally, the last few cars are into position. The 5 red lights will come on, and then they will turn to green, and it will be time to go racing. Clearance from the back is given. the roar of the engines, the revs rise, the red lights are on, the red lights are off, and we are go. And it's Luke Hartog who steps off pole position, moves across to shut off Dylan Pereira, but quite a battle behind. It's Maurice Scheuring and Lauren Heinrich going side by side into turn one. It looks like Heinrich has got the jump on Scheuring. The rest of the cars coming through. So the big challenge to start the race, they're all round turn one. That's not bad going, but look at Dylan Pereira lining up Luke Hartog. He's got the slipstream up towards turn three. To the outside goes Dylan Pereira, but Hartog has the line into the corner. Pereira now losing a position to Lauren Heinrich. So Heinrich in second place, challenging Dylan Pereira. The rest of the cars filing through turn three. There's somebody onto the dirt. Side by side as we head down towards turns 4 and 5. Luke Hartog leading the way. Dylan Pereira has got that position back. So very much as you were. Lauren Heinrich in P3, Maurice Scheuring down to P4.
We had a bad start from Lucas Grunewald mid-pack, who bogged down, but the race leaders dive downhill with Dylan Pereira then having got his second place back all over the back of Hartog here, and he knows he needs to get on with this. Otherwise, he is going to come under attack from hard-charging Lauren Heinrich, who is there in third place. Then next in the queue is Maurice Scheuring in fourth as they wriggle out of turn 8 for the first time. Already the pack dividing into two rather distinct waves, but the leaders then dive over the brow into turn 9, and you've got, what, pretty much 10 in a line for the race lead, and under huge pressure, Luke Hartog is going to lead, but only just at the end of lap 1.
This is the biggest moment in Luke Hartog's racing career. He leads the way in race 3 of the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany, but Dylan Pereira, the vastly experienced Dylan Pereira, there's cars onto the dirt, but they still keep going, pointing in the right direction. Pereira handing in second.
And more locking up there at turn 1. The one that was all over the grass and the gravel was Lucas Grunewald, who bogged down at the start and has now thrown away yet more places with his over-enthusiasm coming out of the last corner. Incident in turn 3 under investigation, which I think might be a collective because so many were on their toes. Larry ten Voorde tries to get up the inside there to no avail against Maurice Scheuring. Scheuring tries to get up the inside of others as well. Another big lock-up. Who's that disappearing stage? Left Heinrich Slusen, I think it was, but he gets back onto the racetrack. It's all kicking off, isn't it? At the end of lap 1, Hartog led by a fifth of a second. That's all.
So these cars are all identical, of course, and it's set up and wing changes that are all they can do. They are identical cars. It's very much down to the driver to stay in front, and Luke Hartog, he says he's been dialed in since the moment he arrived here at the start of this week, and he is showing that as he leads the way from Dylan Pereira. But Pereira, a vastly experienced, more experienced pilot, and he is behind him, matching his every move. We ride on board with Bastian Boost, one of the young chargers. He's currently in P6, so he's found a route past Mikael Muller, and Bastian Boost in P6. Larry ten Voorde just ahead of him. Surely he's not going to challenge Larry ten Voorde, as he? Ten Voorde in P5. That is a long way back by his standards. He's got a lot of work to do from there.
Indeed, and for as long as he's defending, he can't really go forward, although the next target as they come up towards the line is going to be, as they break the beam, Maurice Scheuring. Now the race leaders change. Dylan Pereira, 4/10 of a second to the good as he came over the line. So Pereira has gone through as we were looking at the traffic. So Pereira has done it. He's jumped ahead of Hartog. Heinrich is third. Scheuring is fourth. Fifth is ten Voorde. Sixth is Boost. Seventh is Muller. Eighth is Van Buren. And ninth is Van Splunteren from Van Eindhoven. Now, can Hartog get himself back past Dylan Pereira, who looks really strong? That's ten Voorde to the inside line for fourth, dives up the inside of Scheuring, forces him out wide and goes through, but only just.
Scheuring's coming back on the outside of Larry ten Voorde. So Scheuring, he's got a bit of a slingshot, having gone wide out of the corner, but now also getting involved. Another car from behind, is that Bastian Boost also involved there as well. He's looking at the back of the Larry ten Voorde car, and that is the number 14 car of Maurice Scheuring that we're looking back on from Lauren Heinrich. So Lauren Heinrich, who is in P3, I'm hoping we're going to see a replay of the lead change, because somewhere along the way Pereira did get past Hartog and is now opening up the gap. But keep an eye on Lauren Heinrich. He is in P3. He wants to carry on his winning streak, and he is behind Luke Hartog.
Yeah, Lauren Heinrich going nicely, isn't he, then, in that third spot, doing his best to get onto terms with Hartog. Ten Voorde still trying to push forward as well, but if that battle does develop for second place, it'll play right into Pereira's hands. He'll be able to get away. Dylan has already done the fastest lap of the race. There's a long way to go, though. 25 minutes and change, plus the regulation lap at the end, as one or two go way out wide, coming out of turn 9. Leaders go through. Pereira now 6/10 of a second to the good. And look, it's 3 for the lead, and then a bit of a gap back before Ten Voorde goes through fourth.
Lorcan Hannafin to the inside of Dan Van Koyk. So Dan Van Koyk, who was running in 11th place, Lorcan Hannafin relieves him of that position. He qualified further back than he wanted in the FAC Autotech Porsche, but he's now moving forwards. Behind Van Koyk is Alexander Fack, also his teammate, in 13th place.
Into turn 3 they come, and a drive-through penalty is being given to Harry Prochik for pushing another car. We also lost into the pit lane at the end of the opening lap Jukka Honkavori, who has stayed in the pit lane with damage. As, look at this for 4th place, Ten Voorde, Bus, Schuring, they all dive down to turn 4, and Bastien Bus attacking, defending, Schuring trying to get up on the inside line, but for as long as Ten Voorde is having to make the car wide, he's not catching the top 3.
So Maurice Schuring, who has dropped backwards, he will be starting tomorrow's race from pole position, but today he's fallen back to P6, and he'll be wanting to recover from that. Larry Ten Voorde is marching forwards and pushing hard. Ahead of him is Lauren Heinrich, but Bastien Bus in the mix there. This is a driver who shows no fear. Bastien Bus on the ascendancy and challenging Larry Ten Voorde. They've fallen back a little bit. The first 3 have broken away. Certainly Pereira has pulled away from Hartog and Heinrich. And then there's a gap back to that 4th place battle led by Larry Ten Voorde. You can see the first 3 at the top of your picture. Then the big snake that is the remaining places. So Larry Ten Voorde in P4, Bastien Bus behind him, Maurice Schuring, Michael Ammermuller, who's showing better than he did to Spa-Francorchamps, then Rudy Van Buren, Max van Splunteren and Huub van Eindhoven. Here they come up the hill towards turn 3, under braking they come, and Pereira looks to have this under control at the moment. But it is very much about tyre preservation. We've seen it in the past as there's some more moves to position further back. Right, this is the challenge for the lead. It was Dylan Pereira. This was his view. Luke Hartog ahead of him and just finds that gap on the inside. Luke Hartog almost handed that to him, didn't he?
Yeah, there wasn't much defence put up with that, although it might have been that he wasn't expecting Pereira to think about the move there, and suddenly he was dive bombed. But it was a really good, incisive move by Dylan Pereira. Picks up the race lead, and it sort of stung Hartog into action. He did try and retaliate, but as you can see, to no avail, because now, very definitely, it's game on for 2nd place. But, who has done the absolute best in the first sector? Step forward, Larry Ten Voorde, who has shaken off for the moment the Bus Schuring battle, and so now Ten Voorde is going after Heinrich, who there, look in the blue car, is stuck on the back of Hartog. So we might get 2nd, 3rd and 4th together before much longer.
Whatever Heinrich was doing over the winter, it's been very good, because he has been a reborn man since the winter period, and now he's lining up Luke Hartog. Hartog, who started on pole position, now has his mirrors full of the number 3 car, fighting for that 2nd place. He needs to preserve the tyres, he needs to keep them in the window, but all of this is allowing Dylan Pereira just to pull away, because Hartog is now having to defend for all he's worth from Lauren Heinrich. Instead of focusing on challenging the leader, he's defending, and now Heinrich looks to the inside into turn 3. A big gap again on the inside of Luke Hartog. Hartog didn't look to put up too much of a defence, and Heinrich once again is through, and that was a big gap on the inside of Hartog for the 2nd time of asking.
He's being very gentlemanly, is Hartog, in all of this. He's trying to keep out of trouble, but almost giving away places. So Lauren Heinrich will go through on the inside there, cements that move coming down towards turn 4. Again, Hartog tries to fight back, but he's going to be on the outside line for the next corner, and that ain't going to work, so he's going to have to slot back in behind. And really now, his big task is to fend off Ten Voorde, who's a man on a mission behind him. Look, Larry Ten Voorde there in the orange fronted car, LTV getting closer and closer all the time. Lead gap is 7/10 of a second. Last time around, fractionally faster was Hartog than Pereira. And now that Heinrich, I should say. Now that Heinrich is getting himself away from Hartog, he might be able to do something about the race leader, because he's got clear road ahead of him.
Lauren Heinrich has been so rapid in every session. Dylan Pereira, who didn't have the kind of success he was hoping for at Spa-Francorchamps. He was a 4th place in the 2nd race, but is certainly putting that to rights here as he leads the way. But Lauren Heinrich is a man on a mission. We talked about maybe the old guard changing, but Larry Tenforder has something to say about that. He's like, hold my drink, I'm coming through. So Larry Tenforder in 4th place, closing in on Luke Hartog, and it is going to be only a matter of moments before he is up with a number 4 car.
I just wonder whether Hartog has a problem, because his last lap was a 33, and that means he is slower than anybody else in the top 13. Now, it might have been that he made a little mistake somewhere and lost time, but it might be something more draconian, something more sinister. We need to keep an eye to this. That was the move that gave Laurin Heinrich the place, and there was a gaping gap, as you said. It was a big, big gap there. Easy peasy, really, for Laurin Heinrich to go through. Does that suggest that Hartog's car is not performing as it should, and he's just got nothing in answer?
Well, Luke Hartog is a driver who does not lie down for anybody. He is a fighter. He's not scared to get his elbows out, as we saw for much of last year. So maybe the theory that there's something amiss with the car could be about right, because he did hand over both of those places without too much of a fight.
Whoops, big, big lock-up there from Christoph Lange, who arrives at turn 1 and explores all of the runoff area. So wide there, he nearly had to pay to get back in, but he got away with it, battling with Kai Pfister. It was a good idea around the outside, but didn't half get his money's worth out of the circuit there.
Kai Pfister, who started 32nd, is up to 27th. Our leading Pro-Am driver is heavens above. It's not Carlos Rivas. What's going on? Is there something wrong? It's Jan-Erik Sluten in 21st place. Georgi Donchev and Soros Sprang. That's the 1, 2, 3 in the Pro-Am category. Our leading rookie, once again, is Huub van Eindhoven, and that is Lucas Oerthel, who is out of the car. Smoke coming from it. It would be good to see behind the graphic, because it looks like...
I reckon he's done a radiator. I think he's tapped the back of somebody and done a rad.
Yes, so Lucas Oerthel parked at the side of the track, and Harold Prochik parked in the pits. So he had that drive-through penalty. He's decided he's had enough, parked it up, and the clown car is parked up in the pits. There's not much of a smile going on inside the helmet of Harry Prochik at the moment, that's for sure.
Yes, that's the race's equivalent to a custard pie in the face, isn't it? A penalty, and then you retire from the race. This is Dylan Pereira, who is looking absolutely dominant up front. He's now got the margin up to 11/10ths of a second, although that said, Laurin Heinrich was fractionally quicker last time around. Hartog is still 3rd, Tenvoerder is 4th, Bastian Buss 5th, Maurice Schuring has dropped down to 6th, Michael Muller is 7th but not making progress. Then it's Rudy van Buren, Max van Splunteren and Huub van Eindhoven to round out the top 10. Van Eindhoven, who is leading the rookie contest at the moment. He's part of the talent pool, so not yet at halfway in terms of the time. Are some of them driving within themselves, making sure they've got tyre life left for the final few minutes of the race?
We've seen it so many times in the past where a driver has gone like the clappers at the start, and then halfway through the race suddenly they lose all their pace because the tyres have gone off. It's new rubber this year, but it still needs to be very gently handled, and you take too much too early on, you're going to have problems. We're riding on board with Jan-Erik Sluten, our leading Pro-Am driver, currently 20th on the track and 1st in class for the Pro-Ams. Georgi Donchev is just a little behind him. Some great shots. Our cameraman got a new drone for Christmas, and he's putting it to good use. It's the fastest drone that money can buy, apparently, but it can't keep up with a Porsche, can it?
It can't, and nobody at the moment can keep up with Dylan Pereira, because that long, long line is really queued up for 2nd place, where it is Heinrich, Hartog, there Tenvoerder, then Buss, then it is Schuring ahead of Muller, and then there's a bit of a gap that's opened up before the next field through. 11/10ths is the margin, and actually Sector 1, Laurin Heinrich is again a little bit quicker than Dylan Pereira. So Heinrich has had to push the tyres because he had to get up with and past Hartog, but he still seems to have the pace as Sebastian Freimuth goes through shot. Richard Wagner behind him. We're currently on lap 9. Another driving standards flag is about to be fluttered in the direction of Larry Tenvoerder for leaving the track with an advantage at turn 1.
Well, whatever the advantage he might have gained is not showing too much, because he's not closing in on Luke Hartog from what we can see at the moment. He's still circulating in P4, but a warning for track limits. Track limits, the age-old topic, and it always seems to be very much a headline here at the Red Bull Ring. Every year we come here, every year there are several hundred track limit warnings, and every year a driver falls foul of it. Bastian Buss in P5, we just saw him there, looking back now at Maurice Schuring in P6. Here come 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars, and that is the lead 7. Leading them, of course, Dylan Pereira.
And the lead gap is less than a second now, so Heinrich again chips away a little bit further, and Luc Hartog is also upping his pace. This is the view from Bastien Buss's car, comes then over that brow, drops down towards turn 4, into which Pereira turns, but you can see they're concertinaing now for the top 3 places. Interestingly, Ten Voorde has never really got up with Hartog, has he? He's never been able to close sufficiently.
It's interesting talking to Luc Hartog. He said that once the tyres are out of the operating window, it's really difficult to get them back again. And I wonder whether Hartog has maybe been a little bit too gentle on the tyres in the opening part of this race. He is desperate for this first win in Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. He was over the moon with his pole position, and it feels like he started to pick a bit of pace up, because Larry Ten Voorde, as we look at him there, and you can see how hard he's working the wheel, Larry Ten Voorde is not making inroads into Luc Hartog's P3. Bastien Buss is keeping Larry Ten Voorde very much in sight as well.
Race leaders go through, 7/10 again between the top 2, 7/10 second to third, 9/10 third to fourth. So Ten Voorde, again, unless he is biding his time, unless he's got something up his sleeve to be able to really exploit in the last 10 minutes of the race, the danger is he's dropping off the back of the peloton really here, as there, look, Dylan Pereira and his retinue head up towards turn 3 with Heinrich again closing, under braking. Heinrich to give this a red-hot go late race, I think is still on the cards.
I think it certainly is. Lauren Heinrich, who is a new Porsche Junior driver, just announced for this year, and he's really taken it very seriously. He was in a class of his own at Spa-Francorchamps a couple of weeks ago. He was the only driver who didn't touch the brakes going up Eau Rouge towards Raidillon, and he's the driver who is fearless and is closing in on Dylan Pereira. Pereira, who's been in Porsche one way or another for many years and has been part of the Carrera Cup Germany for quite a few years before taking some time off and coming back this year, leading the way. He has a lot of experience, but Heinrich very much one of the new young chargers. Hartog very much still in touch with both of them as well. Larry Ten Voorde, that gap is not coming down, and behind him Bastien Buss, Maurice Schuring, and keep an eye on Michael Ammermuller in P7 as well.
Yeah, all of whom are trying to increase their pace. There are good sectors coming from many of them. Ammermuller then runs out wide at turn 10, like most, uses all of the real estate available. Pereira goes through, and it's 6/10 of a second now. Fastest lap of the race, intriguingly, just done by Luc Hartog. So, is that suggesting that he has looked after the rubber and now has got a good car underneath him once again on a good set of tyres? He's certainly fighting back against Lauren Heinrich, 0.589 of a second behind that second place car now.
Well, if that is the case, that's a very wise head on those young shoulders, but Luc Hartog closing in on that lead battle. Bastien Buss closing in on Larry Ten Voorde. The 2 times and defending champion in Porsche Carrera Cup Germany has Bastien Buss, the young charger, fearless in all that he does, who is now turning the heat up. He looks to the outside of the number 25 car and tucks back in. He's got to be careful, because if Bastien Buss mounts a challenge on Larry Ten Voorde and it doesn't stick, Maurice Schuring is going to be in there, and he is going to be relegated a position. Looking back from Larry Ten Voorde towards Bastien Buss. Now looking from Bastien Buss towards Larry Ten Voorde. We are in the Red Bull Ring. We're at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg. And this is the Porsche Carrera Cup race 3 of this 16 race season.
Now, Hartog is quicker than the 2 ahead of him in Sector 1. He's quicker than one of those ahead of him in Sector 2. And you can see now that that orange and white and black car in third place is coming back at the... Oops, very, very, very wide goes Ten Voorde. Gets it back onto the circuit, damages the splitter in the process. And that is going to give Bastien Buss a chance to take full advantage of that. Goes to the inside, goes to the outside. If he can drive all the way around the outside there, he'll be a brave man. Can't do it. Tries to get the undercut coming out of the corner. Can't do it. And now he's got Ammermuller bearing down on him, and Schuring is there as well, but Ten Voorde badly delayed out of all of that. It is game on up towards turn 3, the blue car. Bastien Buss gets into the back of Ten Voorde, gets himself off the racetrack. To the outside line goes Schuring. Somehow Ten Voorde stands his ground, and after all of that is still in that place, but Schuring goes round the outside of Bastien Buss. That could have been a whole lot worse.
Wow, amazing stuff. And we said keep an eye on Maurice Schöring, particularly if Bastian Buus made that challenge on Larry Tenforder. And Schöring doesn't need many invitations. Mikael Muller also at the back of that queue. And Rudy Van Buren also rushing to join as well. How did Larry Tenforder hold on to that is beyond me. I think the splitter is in one piece, and that would be very significant, because if the splitter does part company, he is surely going to struggle to hold off the cars behind him. Brilliant stuff from Larry Tenforder and Bastian Buus. I told you Bastian Buus was not scared to get his elbows out, and he really did get stuck in there, but he's lost that position to Maurice Schöring.
Absolutely right. So yes, he tried everything he could to gain a place, ended up losing one. And Tenforder, who would have put money on Larry being the one that made the mistake? With all his experience and success in these sorts of cars, coming out of here a lap ago, he was the one that really did run too wide and very nearly dropped the lot. The circuit looking really grubby now, with bits of debris lying across the road. Now, there are the three race leaders. The lead gap is down to half a second, as Larry Heinrich has now done the fastest lap of the race in second place. This is the replay of Tenforder, very nearly getting himself a ticket for the front row of the grandstand, but he bounces back onto the road and hung onto the place. Despite this, bang from Buus.
That's amazing. Now, what happened there? I don't know whether Larry Tenforder was just trying to block, or whether Buus was just being a little bit optimistic into the corner. It was a bit of a hurry up, wasn't it? But the fact they both survived is a miracle in itself.
I think Buus got a toe, and suddenly his closing speed rather surprised him. He gained a bit more pace than he wasn't expecting, and he had nowhere to go. Round the outside of him then goes Maurice Schöring, and Bastian Buus, instead of going one up, goes one down.
Absolutely brilliant. Now Bastian Buus is coming back there. Maurice Schöring in front of him at the moment in P5. Bastian Buus in P6. This is giving Larry Tenforder a little bit of breathing space. The black and white flag has been shown to Bastian Buus for pushing another car. You don't say. So Bastian Buus been given a warning by the race stewards. As we've said before, it's not a penalty, but it is a warning. So if it happens again, he might find himself in trouble.
Right, time for a deep breath. 8.5 minutes to go, plus the regulation lap at the end. 1.4 seconds covers the top three, and Tenforder and his little moment of 2 laps back means that he has now officially fallen off the back of the leaders. There they are, and this time around, Heinrich closer to Pereira than Hartog is to Heinrich. The margin is still only half a second, as Larry Heinrich then here, having taken those 2 wins at Spa, looks to maintain this 100% record, and actually he ain't that far off doing it.
No, he is closed in on Pereira. He's got a little over 5 minutes in which to do something about this. So, Lauren Heinrich, keep an eye on him in second place. Keep an eye on Bastian Buus, honing in again on Maurice Schöring. Bastian Buus, he doesn't back off for anybody. Larry Tenforder just in front. Behind this little battle, Mikael Muller also ready to pounce. Then Rudy Van Buren and Max van Splunteren also in there. Our leading rookie is Lorcan Hannafin. He's in P10th, and he is the leading rookie at the moment. Alex Fack, his teammate, is behind him in P11 on the track. And our leading Pro-Am driver is still Jan-Erik Sluten in 19th place ahead of Georgi Donchev. But Carlos Rivas has just passed Soren Spreng. So Rivas is up to 21st position.
And still making progress, so he might yet get ahead of Donchev before the very end. This is Bastian Buus's view. 6th, staring at the back of Maurice Schöring, with now 7 minutes and change on the clock, plus that regulation lap. Tenforder in no man's land goes through 4th. What is happening up the road? Well, in the first sector, the gap was down between Pereira and Heinrich, and in the second sector, it went fractionally up. So it's a bit cat and mouse now between those two as they head towards the exit of turn 10. And this little battle hasn't resolved itself either. Schöring, Buus, Muller, Van Buren, they're all together as the leaders go by. And again, the margin is half a second. And that time around, Pereira was quicker than Heinrich by a massive 16 one-thousandths of a second.
Oh, that's an eternity, isn't it? You get the feeling that Pereira has control of this and is controlling the pace. Heinrich is going to have to come up with something pretty clever to find a route past the number 94 car. At the moment, Pereira leading the way. There he is. Then is Lauren Heinrich, then Luke Hartog, then a big gap to Larry Tenforder. Did he get any damage with that little moment coming out of turn 10? And then Maurice Schöring, the young driver, And if you're worried about Schering, there's apparently another couple of his brothers coming through the ranks who are just as quick, if not quicker. So the Scherings are going to be names on our lips for many years to come.
How reassuring. So there he is, fifth at the moment, and chasing after Ten Voorde. 6 more minutes to go. But Pereira, I think you're right. Because he's got the experience of these cars, he knows when to hold and when to fold, doesn't he? And so if he does start to feel under pressure, he might just be able to turn up the wick just a little bit more. Heinrich versus Hartog, still their second and third, and Bastian Buus has had a busy race. He's actually quite lucky that he didn't do any front damage to his own car in that tangle with Ten Voorde. But there he is in 6th spot. The one rather disappointing element of this, you could argue, is Michael Ammermuller. I know he's been out of the championship for a couple of seasons, and these are new cars then, brought in last year that he hasn't raced before. But even so, with his wealth of experience, I would have thought better than 7th was on the cards.
He would agree with you on that as well. He was thoroughly despondent at Spa-Francorchamps, and I can't see anything to improve his mood at the moment, but we still have another race after this one, which happens tomorrow. He's running in P7 at the moment. Coming into this race, Lauren Heinrich had a perfect 50 points. This is a great shot, isn't it? Left foot braking. I tried to do that in my car once. I almost went through the windscreen. I won't try that again. Incredible skill from Lauren Heinrich as we look down in the footwell of the SSR Hugo Racing Porsche. I mentioned he has a perfect 50 coming into this race. Dylan Pereira 17 points adrift in second place in the championship, and Maurice Schering third, 19 points behind. If things change, if things stay as they are now, then Pereira will close that gap up, and this championship is very exciting, even though we're in the 3rd race of the season. Lauren Heinrich has found some phenomenal form over the winter months, and he's learned how to left foot brake like nobody I've seen before.
However, I would offer you the fact that on this lap, Pereira is getting away. Look out at that big shot there, and you'll see that the gap is increasing. In the first sector, the margin had gone up ever so slightly. Now, look back from Bastian Buus's car. Michael Ammermuller has had enough of being 7th, and we might have stung him into action here, Brian, because he is all over the back of Bastian Buus now. But he can't find a way through as they head into turn 9. Behind him is Van Buren. But for the race leader, Dylan Pereira, 0.7 of a second was the margin last time over Lauren Heinrich. This time, as they break the beam, the gap is actually 0.6 of a second. So despite what it looked like out of the front late in the lap, Lauren Heinrich brings down that gap once more, only fractionally though.
I think Bastian Buus might have picked up some damage or taken too much out of the tyres in all of the drama that we saw, because Michael Ammermuller is monstering him, and Buus has now dropped back from Maurice Schering. A big gap there that you can see. Rudy Van Buren also getting involved in that. Buus currently circulating in P6. Michael Ammermuller logically in P7, and Rudy Van Buren and Max van Splunchen in that queue as well. But Bastian Buus is going to do well to hold on to 6th place for the next 3 minutes plus 1 lap.
He is indeed, especially if the car is hobbled in some way. Dylan Pereira then, in the meantime, also having to check his mirrors regularly to see where the traffic is. Heinrich and Hartog behind him. And Larry Ten Voorde, you can put in your despondent column, I would have thought, because look how much time he's lost after that trip over the grass. He never quite had the pace in qualifying, and things haven't really turned around in the race. We did suspect mid-race that he might be looking after the rubber, but the margin now, he's nearly 3 seconds off the top 3.
We've got a little over 2.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining of this race, but don't go anywhere, because Lauren Heinrich was very proud of the fact that he had won every race of the season so far, and he still has sights on that in this, the 3rd race. Dylan Pereira only 0.6 ahead last time around, and there's still plenty of time for that to change, for Lauren Heinrich to launch one last assault. And Michael Ammermuller might have an assault to launch on Bastian Buus as well. This is Heinrich in 2nd place, looking at the back of the Pereira car. What can he do in the last couple of minutes plus 1 lap to get past the Phoenix Racing Porsche that is in front of him? Well, we said the gap was 0.6. It's down to 0.465 last time they crossed the beam, but I think that's changing on every corner. Heinrich is as close as he's been at any point during this race.
If I were Heinrich, I'd think about banking the points, though, because Dylan Pereira, and you've made the point already, is a very experienced Porsche campaigner. He'll know exactly what to do with that car, where to place it. So the last thing Heinrich needs is to get sucked into any heroics that don't work out for him. But that said, again, under braking, he's right on the back of Pereira, but then you saw how much speed he carried into the corner and how the car washed out just a little bit and put him up onto the curb. So he's trying as hard as he can. The gap in real terms now is just over 0.4 of a second, less than ever. Behind them, closing, doing personal best in sectors, is Luke Hartog. So if he gets up onto the back of Heinrich, that's going to be a distraction that he does not need. The clock is going to tick to 0 on the next lap, so we've got 2 more to run as they come into turn 9 right now.
I should think Hartog is probably willing Heinrich to have a go at Pereira, because if those two get together, he can see the top step of the podium not too far ahead of him. Hartog, who lost that pace middle of the race, will be interesting to find out what actually happened there. He is closing back in, but not quick enough. Look at defending champion Larry Tenforder in P4. He'll be pleased to see the checkered flag, I think, because Morris Schuring is once again filling his mirrors. I think both Tenforder and Bastian Boost did not come out of that altercation well. Both of them look to be struggling for pace. We're into the last 30 seconds plus 1 lap.
So this is Tenforder versus Schuring. You can see now how Bastian Boost is falling away. So Schuring up the hill. 5th he runs. Remember that he started 3rd on the grid, but now he very definitely can get ahead of Tenforder. He's got the pace, and his car looking really strong late race. 1 more lap to run at the end of this. The clock, as you see, is about to hit 0. Look back from Larry Tenforder's car. You see that swan's neck mounted rear wing. The fittings on top of the wing. The aero works on the underside of the rear wing, so by mounting it from the top, there you can see it again, it means that the wing plate underneath is unaffected. Downhill they drop. Tenforder 4th, Schuring 5th.
I've learned something about physics today then. So Larry Tenforder with his very flash wing, and Morris Schuring tracking him all the way. Larry Tenforder in P4 and Morris Schuring P5, Bastian Boost P6, Mikael Muller P7. That's the drivers you can see in that queue. Tenforder and Schuring just breaking away a little bit, but time is running out. If Schuring is going to do anything about Larry Tenforder, it's going to have to be pretty soon, because there are not that many opportunities left. Our leader, Dylan Pereira, will very shortly be starting his final lap. Here he comes over the finish line. Lauren Heinrich directly behind him. Heinrich possibly out of ideas. Now, this is Heinrich's last and best opportunity. Along the flat out, turn 2 we go. Picking up the slipstream, but is he too far back? Heading up towards turn 3. It's a steep old climb up there, but Heinrich looks to be too far back. He puts his nose to the inside, but Pereira is a wise old dog. He's not going to fall for anything there. Luke Hartog just waiting in the background, ready to pick up any pieces if these two should get together. But Pereira and Heinrich certainly in a class of their own at the top end of this race. Pereira still leading, Heinrich still behind. Hartog in 3rd, Larry Tenforder a very distant 4th place, still holding off Morris Schuring. But here comes Dylan Pereira around turn 5 and out towards turn 6. Lauren Heinrich just tracking him, but Pereira surely has this one sewn up. He just needs to keep it on the racing line, not do anything stupid. Out towards turn 7 now, and into just the last 3 corners of this race remaining. You can see Lauren Heinrich flashing the lights, trying desperately to distract him, but Pereira is a wise old dog. Into the final 2 corners he comes, into 9, into 10, onto the pit straight. The checkered flag is in front of him. It's Dylan Pereira who wins race 3 of the season for Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. Lauren Heinrich almost pushing him across the line. Luke Hartog, a season best so far of P3. Larry Tenforder in P4. Morris Schuring, Bastian Boost, Mikael Muller, Rudy Van Buren, Max van Splunteren, and Lorcan Hannafin rounding out the top 10. Lorcan Hannafin, the leading rookie. And the winner in the Pro-Am category, Jan-Erik Sluten, who is 19th on the track, although he hasn't crossed the line yet. A little bit premature. Out of turn 10. And now the celebrations can commence for Jan-Erik Sluten ahead of Georgi Donchev Carlos Rivas, P3 for him in category. He will not be happy about that. And there's somebody doing a little bit of rallycross out of turn 10, and that is Wagner. So Richard Wagner having a moment and drops down the order in the final corner of the race.
That's his second moment, isn't it? Because he had one at turn 1, and that's why he was having a moment, because he got absolutely harpooned. Now, who was that by?
I'm just trying to work out who that was.
Philip Zaga, maybe.
It might have been. I'll let you know shortly.
Right. Well, when it comes up that somebody's under investigation,
yes,
we can work it out. But Richard Wagner, as you saw, getting torpedoed right at the very end. Great drive by Dylan Pereira. Control that absolutely beautifully.
So there is your result. Dylan Pereira for Iron Force Racing by Phoenix, taking the win ahead of Lauren Heinrich and Luke Hartog, the pole sitter. Larry Tenford, defending champion in P4, ahead of Morris Schuring. Bastian Boos, Mikael Muller and Rudy Van Buren rounding out the top 10. A really entertaining race, in the top 8, should I say. The top 9th was Max van Splinteren. Lorcan Hannafin rounding out the top 10. There you go, we got there in the end. Alex Pack in 11th. Alex Tauscher, who's made the transition from GT4 to Carrera Cup Germany and doing a very good job. Next up, Dan Van Koyk in 13th, Lucas Groneveld, Sebastian Framer, Jan Seifert, Ariel Levi in P17, Jan-Erik Sluten in 18th, 19th, George Donchev, 20th, Carlos Rivas, Soren Spreng in 21st, 22nd, Philip Seiger, Jonas Greif in 23rd, and then Richard Wagner, Ahmed Al-Shahab, Christoph Langer, and Kai Pfister in 27th place. Wow, I definitely need a little sit down after that. Great stuff from Porsche Carrera Cup Germany here at the Red Bull Ring.
And again, a race winner under intense pressure, because Dylan Pereira never really had any breathing space. The gap kept coming down, didn't it, through that second half of the race. 10th here, 10th there. But he did just enough to be able to hang on in there. Doesn't matter if you only win by 1,000th as long as you win. And Dylan Pereira using all of his years of Porsche experience to very good effect.
Pereira, who went to the Raffaele Marciello School of Hair Bleaching. That certainly makes you go faster. I've discovered this, that you dye your hair blonde and you win races. So Pereira jumping out of the car, and he will be delighted. The Iron Force Racing by Phoenix Porsche doing the job. And you can just see how delighted he is with that win. The Luxembourg driver controlling this from the front. He started second on the grid, found a route past Luke Hartog, and there you can see the championship. It's Heinrich who still leads, but now that's down to 12 points. And Morris Schuring in third, 28 points adrift. Larry Tenforder, some 30 points adrift in P4. So Tenforder has got a lot of work to do before we head to the next round, which will be in Imola on the 17th to the 19th of June. And there's the rest of the classifications scrolling through. And Luke Hartog delighted with his podium. Great stuff from these drivers, and really entertaining. Lauren Heinrich's record of winning every race has been broken. He doesn't look too delighted about that. P2 to him, that's a bit of a failure really, but to anybody else that's a heck of a result. Pereira, who didn't really have the pace that he wanted at Spa-Francorchamps 2 weeks ago, certainly got that here. And now just debriefing with the Iron Force Racing team, and very shortly heading up to the podium for the presentation. And Lauren Heinrich does not look particularly delighted with his second place, which is crazy really, because he drove brilliantly for that position. There is our third place for Black Falcon Racing. It is Luke Hartog. Second place, Lauren Heinrich in the SSR Huber Racing Porsche. But taking the win, Dylan Pereira for Iron Force Racing by Phoenix. So some great slow-mos there of the cars around here, the Red Bull Ring. And the championship very much wide open. So the teams will go away and have a look at the data and come back tomorrow to do it all again. I can tell you that Maurice Schuring will be starting tomorrow's race from pole position, and he will be very eager from there. It's his first pole position in Porsche Carrera Cup Germany, and he's going to take a bit of stopping from there. But we still have the celebrations from this race to come before then. Pereira clearly delighted with his result. The weather conditions have been good, the crowd have been thoroughly entertained, and that is the points standings as we have them at the moment. Heinrich, Pereira, Schuring at the top. Larry Tenforder, he's 30 points adrift, 25 points for a race win. So he's got a lot of work to do. Luke Hartog in 5th, 31 points back. Bastian Boos, the man who never lifts off for anything or anyone. Last year at Oschersleben, in his opening weekend in Porsche Carrera Cup Germany, he collected an errant wheel in the middle of the track which rearranged the front of the car, and then he went on to put in the fastest lap of the race. So that's Bastian Boos for you, summarised in that moment. And I just think that P6 is going to be improved upon fairly soon. He got his podium in race 2 at Spa last time out. There's Luke Hartog just looking out, thinking. He started on pole position, and possibly wondering whether 3rd place was as good as it gets. At the moment, we're just waiting for Burkhardt, who is doing the presentation announcements, to welcome him onto the stage. And here comes Luke Hartog. Congratulations for his P3. Here comes Lauren Heinrich. Still very firmly at the top of the point standings at the moment. And it's consistency that wins championships, just consistently picking up those 1st, 2nds and 3rds and finishing every race. That's critical. And the man who is his nearest challenger now in the points, Dylan Pereira, he's returned to the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany after a couple of years off, and he's on the top step of the podium. So the national anthem done. Hats are returned to the tops of the heads. Where else would you wear a hat? And Yuri Isaac, the project manager, customer sport Porsche, presenting the 3rd place trophy to Luke Hartog. The Dutch driver showing the way to do it, as indeed does Lauren Heinrich in P2. But the man who took control of this race, controlled it from the front, held off the attentions of Lauren Heinrich and Luke Hartog, Dylan Pereira taking the win. And a trophy for Iron Force Racing by Phoenix. So we pose for photographs. It's going to be good tomorrow, isn't it?
It is, because second best time and giving you the grid. 1 or 2 scores to be settled from today. But Dylan Pereira, a really, really impressive job and a very well-deserved win. It might only have been by a 1/5 of a second, but that also brings him back into the mix after an inconsistent Spa as far as the championship is concerned.
And you get the feeling he's going to be in the mix tomorrow and indeed for the rest of the season. Cheers, everybody. A swig taken by the drivers. And now our attention turns to race 4 of this thrilling 16-race season. Race 4 It's same time tomorrow. It is Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. Will it be Dylan Pereira? Will it be Lauren Heinrich? Or will it be pole sitter Maurice Scheuring? Join us tomorrow to find out. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.